Hello, good evening, everybody. I'm a little bit late, but I'll always be here. Welcome to the channel. My name is Elizabeth. If you've not been here before, I am your friendly hillbilly host, and this is Hillbilly Crime. One of the things that I wanted to do was kind of take a look at the different unsolved cases that we have around here. Um, the ones that were in Letcher County, somebody sent me a video here that I thought we could watch. And I also wanted to read a couple articles. So let me get it up here. Hello, everybody. Come on in. Come on in. I'm sorry I was a little late this evening. We had ice and snow everywhere. Let's see. I hope everybody is staying warm and not having any snow problems. I know this is my first time ever dealing with propane for my heat, and I really like it. I was scared of it at first, I guess just because I'm a female and I wasn't used to it. And but now I really like it. We stay pretty warm with this one little heater that we got. So that's awesome. All right, I'm almost there. Give me just a second. Get this in. How is everybody? Mr. Bob, hello. Let me close some of this out. Well, I just closed out the wrong thing. It's all right. All right. Let me get this pulled up here. So if you've watched some of our videos before, you know that there are 3 unsolved red rums that have taken place in Letcher County in the last several years. And somebody sent me this, and it gives some pictures and stuff. I don't think we've ever seen what her daughter looked like. Okay. So Letcher County red rum victim's body found along same area road as her red rummed daughter. So this was a mother-daughter. And then we're going to look at another mother-daughter unsolved case from Bardstown. It's kind of same situation here in Letcher County with all of this stuff that's been going on here. Very, very similar to what's been happening in Bardstown with their cases. So many similarities. All right. Kentucky State Police conduct investigation into Letcher County red rum of woman whose body was found along same road area as her red rum daughter. A third woman was also red rummed along the same road before the mother and daughter at the end of 2021. So these happened very close together, and in time and geographically. All right. It says that this is the mother here. This picture is of the mother. It says the Letcher County Coroner's Office pronounced Angela Roberts deceased on scene. Law enforcement officials are investigating after a woman was found pew-pewed to death in Letcher County with a macabre connection to the area for the deceased woman. According to an information release on Thursday, March 7th, 2024 at approximately 7:52 p.m., Kentucky State Police Post 13 in Hazard in Perry County, Kentucky, received a 911 call in reference to a female being located unresponsive near a cemetery on Dinah Blair Hollow Road off Kentucky 931 South at Cowan, located in the Whitesburg community of Letcher County. KSP Post 13 troopers, that's the same post that investigating Mickey and Kevin, along with medical personnel, responded to the scene. Upon arrival, Angela Roberts, 59, of Bald Mountain Road of Whitesburg, was located deceased from an apparent pew-pew wound. Detectives with KSP Post 13 responded to the scene and launched an investigation. And I just wonder how well trained in crime scene and evidence collection our bunch is. The Letcher County Coroner's Office also responded and pronounced Angela Roberts deceased on scene. Angela Roberts' body was taken to the medical examiner's office in Frankfort, Kentucky, pending an autopsy. This case remains under investigation by KSP Post 13 Detective Anthony Trotter. That's the one that we saw in the video with Mickey. Anthony Trotter. He's the MMA guy, the good-looking one. Kentucky State Police have released little other information about the incident, but say it is being investigated as a homicide. At least 2 other women have been red-rummed along Kentucky 931 South since December of 2021. The latest was Angela Roberts' daughter. Angela Roberts had been begging for information about who unalived Patricia May Trish Roberts Dethridge, 40, last year. And that's her. That's a picture of her. That's the first time I've ever seen that photograph. Patricia Dethridge's decomposed body was found tangled in vines over a hillside near her home on Bald Mountain Road on August 1st, 2023. She had been missing for at least 2 days. Authorities first thought she had fallen. However, an autopsy revealed she had been pew-pewed in the head. Patricia May Trish Roberts Dethridge, 40, of Whitesburg, Kentucky, was red-rummed by Nugfire on August 1st, 2023, along the same road area and close by to where her now red-rummed mother's body was found on Thursday, March 7th, 2024. Wow. I didn't realize that her mother, Angela Roberts, I didn't realize that the actual red rum of her just happened this year. I didn't realize it was that close. I thought it had been a few years. So I was wrong on that. On Wednesday, March 6th, the day before Angela Roberts' body was discovered, she posted a photo of her daughter on Facebook with the following message. Today would have been Trish's 41st birthday, and I just want to wish her a happy birthday, no matter if she is in heaven, and let her know how much I love her and miss her. And if anybody knows who pew-pewed her, come to me about it, because the cops is not doing nothing. You can let me know anything about it. But if you got any pictures of her today, please put them on my Facebook. And my daughter, Patricia May Roberts Dethridge, you will always be in my heart. I love you and miss you. Love, Mom, Angie Roberts. That's so sad. But you see what she wrote on there? The cops ain't doing nothing. She was really, really from what I've learned, she was really trying to investigate her own daughter's red rum. And it looked like she was the only one that was doing anything. All right, let's see. We got everybody coming in now. Bob is in the house. All right, here we. Miss Amber, hello. Lisa, Tice, welcome. There's Shamex too. Hello. Glad y'all are here. I watched the Kentucky update on your weather. Yeah, it's been very, very bad. I got up this morning, and like I said, we use propane heat. So we've got a propane heater on the wall, and we use them really small 20-pound propane tanks. And I just go take them and let them refill them. It's just cheaper to do it that way. And I've got 3 tanks. So that means one is usually hooked up, and then I have to take the other 2 and get them filled up. And so I've always got one, on. Well, I got up this morning and unhooked it. I saw it was off, and I unhooked it, and I went to grab that other one there, and it was empty. And I was like, oh my gosh. Or I've been so distracted with these dogs being so sick, and I forgot to go get propane. So I had to get up today and go get more, making sure we didn't freeze this winter, or at least through this storm anyway. We just got a little and in the Ozarks, but very cold. It hasn't been all that. It hasn't been as cold today, but it's getting ready to be, I reckon. Hello, fellow hillbillies. Hello, JC the Music Man. Welcome. Glad you're here. Hello, Miss Tiffany. Thank you. Make sure to hit that like button and the subscribe button. Yeah. 65% of my viewers ain't even subscribed. Hit the button. It don't cost you nothing, and it helps us so much. Thank you. Miss Tracy, hello. So are you guys familiar with the Bardstown cases? I know most people aren't going to be familiar with the cases that we just read. Or the Jackie Blair. Somebody sent me this. Let's watch this one too. This is Jackie Blair's, I think.
What's up, TikTok? Another girl coming at you from Letcher County, Kentucky. Born and raised. I love this place. It's my home. I was raised here. I knew Judge Mullins. I knew Sheriff Steins. I know their families.
Sheriff Steins had tried to call his daughter, and he had tried to call his daughter from the judge's phone also.
I'm here to talk about the corruption. The corruption that has been here for decades that I know of. Probably longer, probably deeper than any of us know. It can be a really dark place. It can be a really dark place. But with all the attention that's being focused here right now, I thought it might be a good time to tell you about what I know, to tell you about the things that I do know to be true. Not theories, not rumors. Truth. Truth. You guys might have the time and the resources to look into things that I don't. See how many people in Letcher County have been murdered. See how many of those people had connections to our courthouse. See how many of those murders are unsolved. I know at least one. Jack Blair. I'm his daughter. 24 years ago, this very day, his remains were laying in a car on its top on Pine Mountain. I can see it from where I'm sitting. 250 feet over the mountain. His remains would stay there until October 15th in 2000. I had just turned 18 years old. My dad went missing June 30th. He was involved in some stuff. If you want to Google him, go ahead. There's nothing that he's done that I am ashamed to say that he did, because nothing that he has done is worse than anything that these people in the news are being accused of right now.
That's right.
What I will tell you is he was a good man, and he was my dad. He was a son. He was a husband, a brother. He was missing for 3.5 months. 3.5 months. A detective wasn't even assigned to the case until after his remains were found. By a man scouting for deer on his property. He came upon the car, saw that there was a body inside, contacted the local sheriff at the time. The state police were on the scene. State police commissioner, I believe it was, the state police captain, Danny Webb.
That's our old
He
sheriff.
was in charge of the investigation. I know at least 2 state troopers who were present when my father's remains were removed from the car that they were in, who begged for his remains not to be taken out of that car until the crime scene specialist came and did it. Because they have a saying, apparently, in the state police. Says, if it's showing bone, leave it alone. Well, my father had been decomposing for 3.5 months. He was found in jumper cables. I say bound in jumper cables because it wasn't an accident.
Finally, homemade Manjaro makes your pants drop in just 1 week. I've developed
that he was entangled in those. It was intentional. He couldn't have done it himself. It was decided by the medical examiner and one of the detectives that it would have been impossible for him to wrap himself in those cables like this on his own. This is from his autopsy report,
That's his arm.
which I have. Have lots of newspaper articles like this, and like this, and like this, and this. Got all kinds. Got all kinds. The state medical examiner and the forensic anthropologist renowned in her field, Dr. Emily Craig, she performed the autopsy in Frankfurt, which his body was taken to Frankfurt. I believe it was the next day, that night or the next day, after the crime scene had been traveled by a lot of local rescue squads, fire departments, things of that nature. Dr. Craig now uses in seminars, in trainings that she does, she uses my father as an example of what not to do when removing a body or someone's remains from a crime scene. It was that bad. It was that bad. Once she started to perform the autopsy, she realized that not everything was there that should have been there. So the cadaver dogs were taken back up to the mountain to find most of what was missing. Now, 24 years later, we know nothing more now than we knew then. The jumper cables weren't even fingerprinted. I mean, I'm not a detective. I'm not a police officer, but I think it was worth a shot. It was worth a shot. So the state police commissioner then, guess what he ran for right after my dad's murder. Got it. Sheriff of Letcher County. He was the sheriff of Letcher County until Mickey Steins won the election, until Mickey Steins was sheriff of Letcher County. There's a lot to be looked into. There's a lot to be looked into TikTok, and you can have a field day. There's something to think about. Something to look into while you're waiting on more details to come out about the hot topic. Here's some more Letcher County news for you, and I guarantee my daddy's not the only one.
Remains unsolved. Okay. And then let's go over here and we're going to look at the Bardstown. Because there's now Jack Blair's case. I don't mean to lump that in with the similarities that I see in the Bardstown unsolved cases and the 3 women from our county. But it is one of the unsolved cases in our county. And somebody had sent it to me, so I just wanted to include her in there. She really did a great job. She always does. I know her mommy. Her mommy worked at the Head Start where both of my boys went when they were little. And she's got the best mommy in the world. They are really, really, really great people. All right. Yes, please hit the like button. It's free. Don't cost you nothing. Oh, my goodness. I'm so sorry for the family of all of them. If we had access to records that should be public but aren't, we would demand half of these officers wouldn't be officers any longer. Wow, if I lived there and was involved in corruption right now or in the past, I would be very afraid. Great job keeping the focus on this. All right, now look at these Bardstown cases. Bardstown Unsolved Red Rums, a deep dive into 4 cases that remain a mystery. Jason Ellis. Now, he was an actual police officer. His case, he was going home. I think he had just got off work and he was going home, and it'll tell us, but just to give you a little preview. And somebody had pulled tree limbs, great big tree limbs or something, out into the road where he had to stop, put his car in park, and get out and remove the obstacle out of the road. And when he did, he was pew-pewed and died. And it's still unsolved. Now, Crystal Rogers was, I think, one that really brought a lot of attention to Bardstown because her father, after she went missing, Tommy Ballard, her father, was unalived while he was out hunting under very suspicious circumstances. So let's listen to this news article.
Join our family at Brownsboro Park, winner of the 2023 Best of Kentuckiana Senior Living for Independent Living. Enjoy royal treatment with chef-prepared meals, spacious floor plans, and a staff
give us
you
a
can
little
call
ad.
family.
Sorry,
Make
y'all.
our 14 beautiful acres your
There you
own
go.
with our coffee shop.
Skip ad.
Police are still investigating 3 other cases in Nelson County, including the murders of Kathy and Samantha Netherland. The mother and daughter were found bound and killed in their home in 2014. And then there's the case of Tommy Ballard, Crystal's father, who was killed in 2016, shot while on a hunting trip. And the ambush and murder of Bardstown police officer Jason Ellis 10 years ago. Ellis's family released a statement saying, in part, we have prayed fervently for 8 years that this day would come for Sherry Ballard. The strength, bravery, and fidelity Sherry's exhibited the past 8 years has continually renewed our family's resolve.
Join our family at Brownsboro Park, winner of the 2023 Best of Kentuckiana Senior Living for Independent Living. Enjoy
Yes, it
royal
does.
treatment.
Okay. So let's go on down. It says there has been a major breakthrough in one of the 4 unsolved Bardstown, Kentucky cases that left 4 people red-rummed in less than 4 years. Very similar to here. Jason Ellis, Kathy and Samantha Netherland, Crystal Rogers, and Tommy Ballard each went missing or were red-rummed in the small Kentucky town. Their cases remain unsolved and continue to plague the most beautiful small town in America. Many people have questioned whether or not some of these cases are connected. In January 2023, a special prosecutor, of course, there's always a special prosecutor involved, ain't they? Was assigned to assist in the prosecution of criminal charges related to the deaths of Ellis, Rogers, and Ballard. Notably, the Netherlands case was not included. It is very rare to have all these cases that are potentially connected. In a small community like Nelson County, Assistant Special Agent in Charge Brian Jones said in a 2020 interview, "I think that potentially solving any of these cases could bring resolution to the other ones." So they think they're connected too, probably. The Crystal Rogers investigation. Crystal Rogers, 35. She was a beautiful mother of a bunch of babies. She had a whole bunch of babies, like 5 or something like that. 35. Vanished on 4th of July weekend in 2015. Her car with her belongings still inside was discovered with a flat tire along the Bluegrass Parkway. The mother of 5 from Bardstown has never been found. They've still not found her body. However, there has been a major breakthrough in her case. This year, police have made 2 major arrests. The men arrested are facing charges stemming from the Crystal Rogers investigation, according to an FBI Louisville news release. Most notably, her boyfriend at the time of her red rum, Brooks Houck, was arrested on September 27th and charged with red rum and tampering with physical evidence. Now, Brooks Houck, they had a lot of money. They had family money. And his brother was a police officer at Bardstown. So he didn't just have connections with the police department, but he also had connections. You know how all these small towns are. If you're a wealthy family or a business owner or something like, you're in the it crowd. You know, you're in that circle of important people. And so he had that to cover him. Houck has been considered the main suspect, and he wasn't arrested for a long time. Houck's been considered the main suspect in her case since the beginning. His property has been searched multiple times. Houck's bond is set at $10 million cash, and his arraignment is scheduled on October 5th in the Nelson County Circuit Court. He was also ordered to not have contact with the Rogers family. Just weeks before Houck's arrest, Joseph Lawson of Nelson County was arrested in connection to Crystal Rogers' disappearance. He was indicted on charges of conspiracy to commit red rum and tampering with evidence. Soon after Lawson was arrested, investigative journalist Shay McAllister released a story on a possible link between Joseph Lawson and Brooks Houck. Let's listen to this.
There's DIY, and there's doing it yourself.
A major arrest that broke this morning. The case of Crystal Rogers is one of Bardstown's 5 of unsolved murders, and now the significant arrest of former boyfriend Brooks Houck. As you can imagine, this is something the Ballard family and Bardstown have been praying for. Our team has been in Bardstown all day long. Isaiah Kim Martinez is hearing from residents who have followed this so closely. But first, Shay McAllister is live outside the Nelson County Courthouse. Shay, can you explain the charges here that we learned about today?
Absolutely, Doug. I mean, today's arrest certainly just absolutely huge news in this community. Brooks Houck was arrested by Kentucky State Police troopers and special agents with the FBI early this morning. We've learned that arrest happened on a job site where he was doing construction. He was initially booked into the Nelson County jail, and he did take 2 mugshots, one in a t-shirt, the second in an orange jumpsuit. He was then transferred down to the Hardin County Detention Center, and that is where he is right now. Take a look at his latest mugshot. You can see it right here. He was booked in an orange jumpsuit, something many folks here in Bardstown told us they hoped to see, but in some ways didn't know if they ever would. Houck is facing 2 different charges. He is facing murder and he is facing tampering with physical evidence, both of these charges in connection to the death of Crystal Rogers. We want to get you the information you need to know right now. So here are 3 things about this arrest. First of all, he is facing those 2 charges, 1 count of each. Again, it is murder and tampering with physical evidence. A Nelson County judge placed Houck under a $10 million cash bond. That is a huge cash bond, especially in this community. And as you know, Houck has been the main suspect in this case since 2015. He was the last person to see Crystal Rogers alive. Well, those charges were filed here at the Nelson County Courthouse early this morning, and within minutes of that arrest, Sherry Ballard, Crystal's mom, was here with Crystal's daughter inside the courthouse waiting to talk to the clerk. As it turns out, they weren't here because of the Brooks Houck arrest. They were here for something else. They were here to fight for custody of the son that Brooks shared with Crystal. That was Eli. And tonight we have an update on that custody battle and more details on the indictment.
Finally, his face is not smug. He knows he's been caught.
It's an arrest that has everyone's attention. Brooks Houck, Crystal Rogers' boyfriend, and the main suspect in her disappearance, charged with her murder and tampering with physical evidence. According to the indictment, the charges stem from an incident July 4th weekend of 2015, just days before Crystal's car was found abandoned on the side of the Bluegrass Parkway with her keys, phone, and purse inside. He was named the main suspect within 3 months, but never charged until today.
It's just a miracle that this has happened, and finally he's where he needs to be and where he's supposed to be, and he needs to stay there.
Federal investigators accuse Houck of intentionally causing the death of Crystal Rogers and destroying, concealing, mutilating, or removing physical evidence in connection to the crime. He was arrested without incident early Wednesday morning while on a job site outside of Bardstown. We've been able to confirm this was the moment Brooks was put into handcuffs. He has since been booked into multiple jails, taking 3 different mugshots, 2 in orange jumpsuits.
My first reaction was just Sherry and her family getting the justice that they have fought so much for and never let up. Her faith has just been inspiring to everyone, and to get those answers, it gave me chills, for her.
While news of the arrest spread fast, Sherry Ballard, Crystal's mom, has been focused on something else, something she's been fighting for since the day her daughter disappeared. She wants custody of Eli, Crystal's son with Brooks. He was just a toddler when his mom went missing. We talked to Sherry about the custody battle 2 years ago, after Sherry lost all visitation rights and had no communication with the little boy.
One day, that baby is going to be old enough to come and see me. And he's going to know everything I have done to fight for him.
Today, that fight continued with a petition for emergency custody, according to someone close to the case. We're told it was denied for now, but a hearing later this week could change that. As for Eli's dad, he is currently in the Hardin County Detention Center on a $10 million bond.
Wix gives you the freedom to tell your story.
So we first saw big movement in this case about 3 weeks ago with the arrest of Joseph Lawson. He was the first person arrested in the Crystal Rogers investigation, which has been going on for more than 8 years. Let's take a closer look at that arrest now. Lawson was indicted on September 7th by a Nelson County grand jury. He was charged with criminal conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with physical evidence. He pleaded not guilty to both of those charges. His bond has been set at $500,000, and we are expecting to see him back in court on October 26th. Lawson was the first arrest in connection to the Crystal Rogers case, but of course today's developments, Brooks Houck's arrest is by far the biggest development. This case has been going on for 8 years, and there have been tons of searches. There have been tons of police investigations, different interviews along the way. Let's take a look back at the complete timeline of this investigation.
July 3rd of 2015, when Crystal Rogers was last seen alive. At the time, the Nelson County Sheriff's Office was handling the case. Brooks Houck, Rogers' former boyfriend, told police they'd fed the cows at his family's farm, then went home together. He says the next morning she was gone.
She has vanished.
4 months later, on October 16th, 2015, Ed Mattingly, who was the sheriff at the time, announced Crystal was presumed dead and declared Houck the main suspect.
No comment. Thank you. Y'all have a good day.
Fast forward 18 months. On November 19th of 2016, Crystal's father, Tommy Ballard, was shot and killed while hunting. No arrests have been made in that case, which is still being investigated by Kentucky State Police. There would be no new developments until nearly 4 years after that shooting, on August of 2020, when the FBI took over Crystal's.
Well, it kicked me off. Well, okay, well, I'll just read it.
For over 75 years, Mike's Car Wash has been a leader in car wash.
Police are still investigating 3 other cases.
We already watched that one. All right. Let's see. After more than a year of searching for Crystal Rogers, her father, Tommy Ballard, 54, was also unalived under mysterious circumstances. Tommy was pew-pewed and unalived while hunting with his grandson, November 19th, 2016, just days before Thanksgiving. So could you imagine what a heartless POS did that and did it right in front of his grandson? I don't know if it was one of Sherry's kids, or not Sherry's, but one of Crystal's kids that he was hunting with or not. It doesn't tell us that, but I couldn't imagine what that child would be going through, seeing this happen. That's awful. It's just unthinkable. His wife and Crystal's mother, Sherry Ballard, said she got a call from her grandson giving her the tragic news. He was so upset, and he's like, "Meemaw, Papa's been pew-pewed," she said in a 2019 interview. Tommy was pew-pewed once in the chest. Police originally called it a hunting accident. Of course they did. And Ballard said the reason was so they wouldn't get sued if it was an accidental shooting. She said she was furious with police originally. I would have been too. "This is my husband, and this is a red rum, and you know it," Sherry said. "And you're saying it's a hunting accident? No, I'm not okay with that." Kentucky State Police said they were investigating Tommy's death as a red rum, but in the 6 years since he was pew-pewed and killed, police have shared no updates. "We treat Tommy Ballard's case as a red rum, and that's the way we investigate it," Scotty Sharp with KSP said in 2019. You know, I'd like to think that every day we get up and we're working on all of these cases that we're one day closer. We're one step closer. Now the FBI confirms they are actively working leads and tips on Ballard's case. They are the lead investigating agency on Crystal Rogers' case, but have said they believe solving one case could solve others. I bet it will. I bet it will. Let's watch this one.
Your contractors will soon be asking for their 1099, and your employees need their W-2.
Every morning, the sun rises above Bardstown.
It's so hard.
Just like the day before, just like the days to come.
He was just my world.
For Tommy Ballard, the sun rose for the final time on November 19th, 2016.
You know, I had people tell me that God has a plan for everything and everything happens for a reason. I don't know that I believe that. Why would God want my husband to be murdered?
Days before Thanksgiving, Tommy and his grandson got into his red pickup truck. Heading to the family property, it was an early morning hunting trip. Sherry Ballard saw them out the door.
And I remember going back to my bedroom, and on the way to the bed, you know, I just said, God, look over them in the woods today. And I said it out loud, you know. I guess I was talking to God out loud, and I laid back down. And it was probably 25 minutes maybe, I got the phone call.
A phone call from her frantic grandson.
And he was so upset, and he's like, Mama, Papa's been shot. I was panicking, you know, I was trying to throw my clothes on and get ready, and I went in the bathroom. I told Trenton, I said, I'm gonna call 911.
Calling for help and then racing through red lights, Sherry was desperate to be by her husband's side.
And I ran over and I knelt down to Tommy, and I shook him. And I just begged him to get up. He was just laying there.
In the middle of his property, a property he knew so well, Sherry shook her husband.
I mean, there was no blood, no nothing. So I kept shaking him. And the last time I shook him, he had blood come out of his nose. And that's when they pulled me off of him. I know he was gone when he got there, but it didn't hit me. I didn't realize that. It's still hard for me to realize that today.
Kentucky State Police swarmed the scene as Ballard friends and family lined the drive. A single shot through Tommy's chest ended his life. At first, officers called it a hunting accident, and Sherry called that a disgrace.
This is my husband, and this is a murder, and you know it. And you're saying it's a hunting accident? No, I'm not okay with that.
Kentucky State Police tell us they are investigating Tommy's death as a homicide. But in the 3 years since he was shot and killed, they have not shared any updates about the investigation. Meanwhile, police have named a main suspect in his daughter Crystal Rogers' case, and that's Brooks Houck. Tomorrow night at 6, we take you inside that investigation.
Okay. Now, the Jason Ellis red rum. This is the police officer. Jason Ellis, 33, was pew-pewed and unalived on May 25th, 2013. Ellis had just finished working a shift with the Bardstown Police Department and was on his way home when he saw something unusual: branches blocking an exit ramp off the Bluegrass Parkway. I drive that parkway every time I go to Lexington. It was nearly 3 a.m., and despite having just signed off for the night, Ellis pulled over to clear the debris and ensure future drivers were safe. As he worked to remove the branches, someone pew-pewed the Bardstown officer several times, fatally wounding him. Investigators have since called it an ambush, the tree debris luring him from his car so they could unalive him. There's another case too. I'm not sure which state it's in, and I don't remember her name, but it was a woman and her ex-husband who was remarried and had another baby. They'd all moved on, and he had brought the kids. He had took them out on a date night and brought them home and dropped them off at his ex-wife's house, and he was leaving, and they had hired somebody to do it. And they did the same thing. They pulled a tire out in the middle of the road, I think is what it was in that case. And when he got out, and his little baby was in the back seat, the one that he had with his new wife, and it was in a car seat, so it was strapped in. But they pew-pewed him and left him laying in the road, and then people came up on it and found the baby in the back seat. It's just awful. It's awful. I mean, I have a conscience. A whole year later, I said something that hurt somebody's feelings. And I still think about, I still have to apologize to them for that. I can't say, many nights I can't even sleep if it's on my mind. And that's just if I said something that hurt somebody's feelings. How do these people who commit these kinds of crimes, how do they sleep at night? It might be an unpopular question here. How do you think Mickey's sleeping at night? Do you think he realizes what he's done? And some people, admitting that we're wrong and that we've done something wrong is really hard for some people. I'd say it's hard for everybody, but some of us just get used to it a little bit better than others. But some people just refuse to admit that they're wrong, or to even consider that they're wrong. And so I just wonder if Mickey's gonna dig his heels in, because that's how people, either one way or the other. You either admit you're wrong, accept it, be humble, and admit it, or you dig your heels in and and no matter how irrational, no matter how silly, you'll still deny. I don't know. Let's see what everybody else thinks. I cry when listening to Sherry. Yes, she is. She looks like she was the best mommy and the best grandma. And what's very, very sad about that situation, and it lets you know that the corruption is real. I mean, like you need to have any other kind of corroboration, I guess, or example or whatever. But they took her rights to see her grandchildren after her daughter was red-rummed, or maybe not grandchildren, but that one grandchild that she had with Brooks Houck. They didn't give that baby to her. How many years has it been now that she's not had any contact with that baby at all? And you think coming into their life at 20 years old or 15 years old, all that time is gone. You're not going to get that back. You're not going to get none of that time back. You're not going to be able to bond with them like you would have. You know, you're not going to be able to help them through that grieving process of losing their mommy, which was also your daughter. You know, they've robbed her, not only of her daughter, they've robbed her of her husband, and then now they've robbed her of her grandchild. And I mean, how are they sleep? How do you sleep at night? You know, just unbelievable. There's no pain like grief. Absolutely. And look at all the grief that she's having to go through. It's unbelievable. God didn't want this. He allows humankind to have free will. And unfortunately, bad things happen to good people. You are so right, Miss Kate. Thank you for that. Absolutely. Florida. Is that where it was at? That other case I was talking about, I think is what she's saying. Let's see. I don't travel that way unless I have someone always with me. It was her husband. Just too much. This horrible man. And there's a video of his interview where his brother tells him to get up. He's got his brother on the phone, and his brother's the cop. And he says, get up and get out of there. I'll search it up and we'll watch it if it's not in this. Inmate told Bauer that Ellis was pew-pewed because he was close to an investigation of a ring of storage shed burglaries and business burglaries. Well, that's interesting. Thank you. See you later. A lot of that jailhouse news you can trust more than anything else. Let's see. Oh, let me go back. Okay, let me get back down here where I was at. Some of these kick you off. All right. His red rum has never been solved. Ellis's two sisters and his mother, Pam Deerwester, followed developments from Cincinnati, Ellis's hometown. Ellis's widow and two children now live in Louisville. His mother said they do still visit Bardstown occasionally. She described one recent experience as loving and said they are always greeted with open arms. However, there is also an eerie feeling which can be attributed to lingering questions about who might be behind Ellis's death. Investigators have never fully linked the Ellis case to Rogers' case. But in a 2020 interview with the FBI, Assistant Special Agent in Charge Brian Jones said he believed answers in one Bardstown case could lead to answers in others. The Ellis family agrees. Kelly Eastman, Ellis's sister, said it's hard to not go there too, because there seem to be similar people connected to each case. In some ways without saying too much. So see, they're even trying not to say too much. So this is Ellis's sister. This is the cop's sister. And she says there's seem to be similar people connected to each case in some ways without saying too much. And the Netherlands case, this is just awful. In 2014, so this was after Ellis was unalived. Kathy Netherland, 48, and her 16-year-old daughter, Samantha, were found brutally red-rummed inside their home where you're supposed to be safe, just outside Bardstown city limits. After Kathy didn't show up for work, police executed a wellness check and found the school teacher and teenager unalived in their home. They had both been tortured and unalived. There were few clues, but surveillance footage did catch a black car near the home that night. Whoever was in that car was in that house during the time this crime was committed, Jeremy Thompson of KSP said. Police were never able to find the car or a suspect in their case. People speculated that the two might have been connected to Jason Ellis or that a family member might have unalived them. Still, no connections or rumors were enough for an arrest. In January of 2023, the Kentucky Attorney General, that makes me feel better, appointed a special prosecutor to assist in the prosecution of criminal charges related to the deaths of Jason Ellis, Crystal Rogers, and Tommy Ballard. Notably, the Netherlands case was not included. Why? Why wasn't it? When asked why the Netherlands were not mentioned in the letter, the Attorney General's office said they were not asked to intervene in the Netherlands case. Oh, okay.
The biggest difference between success and failure comes in having a great plan.
A mother-daughter duo, described as all that is good.
They were two really good people who tried their best to make their surroundings better.
Even in the face of tragedy, losing the family patriarch to cancer, the pair stayed positive.
Samantha was a highly intelligent young lady. She was getting ready to go to prom. She was looking forward to that. She got her prom dress, and her family was excited for her.
Looking forward to life's big moments, until that life was abruptly cut short.
I miss them more than anything in the world. No one realizes just how much I wish I could trade places with them.
Off a windy Bardstown road, on a seemingly normal night, Kathy Netherland and her daughter Samantha were attacked inside their home.
Well, Samantha was stabbed and her throat was cut. That's been out there for a long time. And then Kathy was also had knife wounds and was shot as well.
The details are dark, describing that night from April 2014.
We loved them when they were here on Earth. We love them now since they're not here. So we try to focus on that, but there's no question it's very hard.
The clues have been few and far between, but a black car caught on camera near the home that night is considered the largest lead.
Whoever was in that car was in that house during the time this crime was committed.
They never found that car. They never named a suspect.
And I want to know why. Why would somebody go and attack my sister? Why would somebody shoot my mother?
Detectives say they've questioned everyone, even family.
I can say that the older daughter has been cooperative in the investigation and has talked to us and spoken to us and keeps in touch with us at all times. I know that there's rumors going around, but we can't stop the rumors.
Rumors not enough for an arrest. The detectives still searching for the facts.
And the fact that they died so gruesomely, the fact that that kind of thing could happen right here in this area, it shocked a lot of people.
7 months after the brutal murder, the Netherlands' Bardstown home was sold at auction for $41,000. The next year, a new playground was dedicated to Kathy Netherland. But those murders would not be the last in the small Kentucky town. Not even close. Tomorrow night.
Unbelievable. Is that all? Okay, that's the end of that. See, time could be coming for answers. I think these are all older. Driver. Let's see what they say here. Driver caught on surveillance was inside the house. Well, we just watched that. A Bardstown mother and daughter.
For over 75 years, Mike's Car Wash has been a leader in car wash.
Sorry. Okay. Mother and daughter, who had already gone through so much, were attacked and brutally red-rummed in their home. No one knows why. No one knows who did it. Their cases are still unsolved. Just like your neighbor. No one had ever heard a bad thing about Kathy and Samantha Netherland. The two, police said, were beloved by those who knew them. They were two really good people who tried their best to make their surroundings better, relative Stacy Hubbard said. Kathy was an elementary school teacher in Bardstown, and Samantha was a typical teen, getting ready for prom and stressing over schoolwork. Their family was like any other, doing their best to stay positive even after recently losing the family patriarch to cancer. So her husband had just died and passed away. And one of the things that struck me when I first heard about this case was the vulnerability. These women were very vulnerable. It was just her, a little old woman and her daughter, and her teenage daughter. She wasn't even an adult. She was still a child. And I mean, could you imagine somebody breaking in your home and being violent with you and attacking you and your mommy? You're not gonna, as a teenage girl, like, you're not gonna be prepared. Nobody's prepared for anything like that. But I just don't see a teenage girl fighting back, fighting for her life like I would maybe somebody older, just because of fear. Fear can make us freeze. But then again, it's fight or flight. We all have a fight or flight reaction to everything. Let's see. During the course of our investigation, we have seen that they are just upstanding citizens, Scotty Sharp of Kentucky State Police said. A student and a teacher, just like your neighbor. The two's reputation made it all the stranger when Kathy did not show up for work one April morning. When police went to check on the teacher, they were shocked at what they saw. Kathy and Samantha, two people described as all that is good, brutally red-rummed in their own home, your safe space. I couldn't imagine. A gruesome scene. Absolutely heartbreaking, Sharp said. Samantha, a young, hopeful teenager, had been knifed. Her throat cut. Her mother, Kathy, had both knife and pew-pew wounds. The two had been beaten and unalived. The details of their deaths were dark, despite police finding no reason to connect them to any bad people or situations. A lot of times they'll look at the victimology and see, if somebody sells schmecks for a living, or if they are an addict and they're known to stay out in the streets a whole lot, well, then their lifestyle adds more risk, right? Not so much, or not only in one way. There's all different ways that your risks increase depending on what your lifestyle is like. And apparently these two women were just not, they were not people who had a real high risk of anything happening to them because of their lifestyle. So they were in their own home. You've got an older woman and a child, both female. How much more vulnerable could they be? Samantha, a young, hopeful teenager. Oh, I read that. The details of their deaths. I read that, I think. No. The details of their deaths were dark. Okay. There were few clues, but surveillance footage did catch a black car near the home that night. Whoever was in that car was in that house during the time this crime was committed, Jeremy Thompson of KSP said. Police were never able to find the car or a suspect in their case. Let me say something else before I forget it. When I keep talking about the training that these officers and our police have to go through and stuff, this is a perfect example. If you have two people in this house that have been beaten, cut, tortured, and I don't know how long, I don't know if it says how long the car was parked there, if they even know. How long was the suspect in the house? I don't know if they know, if they've released any of that information, but people leave things behind. And the more gruesome, the more emotion is in the crime, the more frenzied, I guess would be the word, that the crime is, the more opportunity for them to slip up and leave a little bit of DNA somewhere. And we all watch the TV crime shows and stuff, and it's not, we know, we're not stupid people. We know it's not like it is on TV, They can't get the results that fast, and stuff like that. But one thing that I've learned by watching a lot of these trials and listening to the experts, like the blood spatter experts and stuff like that, when they get up and testify and go on, they even say that they have more of an opportunity to find the suspect usually will cut themselves or something like that. But one of the things that they do is, I think it's like whoever the detective is, whoever the investigator is, like they have to put in a report and they have to specifically request certain things to be tested. When they do their evidence collection, like if they have a real bloody scene, they don't collect it all. They only collect certain areas of it, right? I mean, that only makes sense. If they've got a shirt that's got a bunch of splatter on it, the red stuff splatter on it, well, they're going to cut a section here, and they might and use their brain and say, oh, well, maybe somebody would touch them up wherever there would be more touch, right? You know what I'm trying to say? So they identify which places they want them to cut out a piece and send it off for testing and stuff like that. So there is a risk of them just not finding what they're looking for, and how do we know how well somebody's been trained? How do we know exactly what kind of how much knowledge that they learned when they were in their schooling. Because I'll tell you, most of the police officers that were in my class in school, if they were already a police officer and they were coming in just taking classes, everyone that I had class with, they didn't never pay attention in class, and usually didn't even, the ones I'm thinking of, usually didn't even do their own work. Their girlfriend at home did their work, or they cheated off somebody else in the class. It was the people that didn't have jobs already that was trying on their grades, you know. So I don't, and that's just my experience. That's just my experience. I ain't saying they all are that way, but it just makes me wonder. These are the people that are in control of all of these situations. They're in investigations. So, and I know that they're not going to solve all of them, but when they've got enough to where it should be solved, but they're not, it just makes you question. It makes me question a whole lot. Hello. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We got a $10 super chat. Bless you. I got to find it here. What do you guys think on these cases? Let's see. Well, all the way to the bottom. There we go. Thank you, thank you. Always a Walmart. Since I'm late going back to replay, but I thank you, and your mom are awesome. Thank you, Meg from Australia. Thank you, Miss Meg. Bless you, honey. Bless you. That makes you our stream sponsor for now, unless we get one bigger. Always a Walmart. Bless you, honey. Thank you so much. All right. And let's watch. I think, is this the one? Driver con. Oh, no. We already watched that. Okay. So I'll stop sharing it. And we'll go look at some of our comments here. Genevieve, she says Mickey just needs to be still. Yeah, something that that I thought of when I was reading that story. It was going on about, or no, not reading the story. It was a comment. Somebody had said that according to the inmate, the burglarized storage units contained high-end antiques and rugs. The inmate also said that at least 4 men were hired by an unidentified person to carry out the crime. And I think they're talking about Jason Ellis, his case. It's very possible, and you know that's what the whispers are coming out of Leslie County from the inmates there, that Mickey apparently, allegedly, has said that there was a lot of money things going on, and there's supposed to be money stashed in storage units all over the place. And I mean, that makes sense that that's what somebody would use if they were trying to hide money. You got enough little old storage building places around here. I mean, we don't know that, of course. We don't know that that's anything that's happened. It's just whispers out of the jail. And we know there's a lot of jailhouse lawyers. And I'm sure Mickey is getting all the advice that he can stand in the jail. But, you know, I said the other night, you have to learn to adapt. And especially if you're coming from a completely straight A, or supposedly coming from a straight A lifestyle. If you've never committed a crime, if you've never done anything to get in trouble and have your liberty taken from you, then whenever it does happen, it's very shocking and traumatic. And I'd say I'd say it's been really hard on him. And you got to remember, like we watched that video, him trying to get in the back seat of that police car. He's a great big man. He's a big old guy. And he's tall and he's heavy. So I don't know about Leslie County Jail, but most of the jails, you've got a little bitty tiny thin mat, you know, and they don't usually, I ain't never been to one that had a bunch of brand new mats. They're usually old and bad shape, real thin. And it's either on the concrete floor or one of them, like they've got metal bunks on the wall. But it's still a piece of metal. And it's also very hard to get used to sleeping on something so hard, especially if you're used to a nice soft bed. So, I mean, the adjustment alone, you know, and learning to adapt. And he's not on that side of the law anymore. So it's not like he's going to be able to ally with all the law enforcement. I mean, he probably will at Leslie County. But the reality is he's an inmate. You know, he can't necessarily, they're not going to pull him out of his cell and give him a chair at the desk with the rest of them. He's got to go to his cell or wherever. I'm just saying, you know, I'm sure he's very familiar with being in the Letcher County jail, but he's not familiar being in there as an inmate. And those are two completely different things. You still spend a whole lot of your time there, but it's totally different when your liberty is, you know, taken from you. He may be thinking the good old boys will have his back. Some people will never know genuine, good, kind, human love and family. Like that monster unaliver. I just can't even imagine. And, you know, the daughter, there was another daughter, the mother and the daughter there from Bardstown that were unalived. She had another daughter, the little blonde that was speaking there. And I read another article about it back a long time ago, and a lot of people were trying to say she did it. You know, they were investigating her real hard because there was life insurance in that family or whatever. And I'm just glad to see that we don't have an even bigger injustice or travesty by having her other daughter charged with something she didn't do. We see it all the time. We see innocent people sent to prison every day. Why don't the feds take over to get to the bottom of it all? it overhaul your justice system and monitor it afterwards. The feds, not the state. Well, honey, I don't trust the feds either. The feds are the ones who came in here and investigated Scott Blair's case, and they only gave him 4.5 years. And they didn't even charge him with half of the crap that he should have been charged with. They only charged him with honest services fraud. That's it. And that man was a predator. Is a predator. And because he was not charged with all of the SMEX crimes that he committed, because he wasn't charged with any of those kinds of crimes, he doesn't go on no registry. That was the feds' case. The feds are also the ones that have supposedly been investigating ARC. Well, you know, we already know that the CEO of ARC went to school and grew up with our Kentucky Attorney General. So, friends in high places can make all kinds of things go away. So I'll be surprised. I'll be so surprised if they charge ARC with anything. Even if it is by the feds. I don't trust it. Not as far as I could throw them. She had her husband, daughter, and grandbaby taken from her. Just awful. I can't imagine. Me neither. I'm rather new to your channel. Well, welcome, Miss Vicky. Did they ever find out for sure why? No. We're all still speculating. We're all still speculating, but if you want to watch last night's or the night before, I think you can. It might be 2 nights before that, but you'll see it on the thumbnail and the title. They've got new body cam footage that they just released if you've not seen it, so go check that out. Grandparents do not have rights in Kentucky. All the lies that Brooks' family has told that poor child. That's a good point, because that's what happens most of the time, unfortunately. Jesse James, I know they've done away with them in 1998 here in Kentucky, and it's sad. Grandparents' rights. And, you know, that was a failure of the court. Because, you know, it was Brooks Houck's family that had all the connections and the money. So, if the prime suspect in her red rum was the baby's dad, and you go ahead and give that baby to them, instead of placing it with her parents, that tells me all I need to know about the corruption in that county. That baby should have been given to her parents or brother, sister, you know, on her side of the family. Because I bet you they had the rest of kids, because Brooks Houck wasn't their daddy. So I bet they got the rest of her kids, and she had 5 kids. So what did they do? They ended up, if I'm right, and that's what happened, then they've just split the kids up. And now, not only is the relationship gone and all that time and stuff gone with Miss Sherry, it's also gone with that child's siblings. Once they're grown, they're grown. There ain't no going back. And I heard on something a long time ago that by the time a child is 6 years old, their personality is already formed and developed into who they're going to be as an adult. By the time they're 6 years old. So that means the first 6 years of a child's life are the very most important. That's what it tells me, anyway. Jared Bradigan. That's it. That's it. That was the case I was talking about. Jared Bradigan is the one whose ex hired somebody to put a tire in front of his car, and he got out. Yep. Shanna Gardner, charged in the conspiracy. And the funny thing is, who's her lawyer in this case? Now, she's been charged with it, with the conspiracy, the hiring the man hit. But her new lawyer is Jose Jose, my brain, I swear. Let me look him up. I know one of y'all can tell me. Jose Jared Bradigan. But who's the lawyer? Shanna Gardner. I know you guys could tell me probably faster. Is, well, I see his face. Casey Anthony's lawyer. I know one of you have already told me already here. It's Casey Anthony's lawyer. And he represented the football player, the one who unalived all them people, and then he unalived himself in the jail cell. I think the song Officer Down was written for Trooper D. Ellis. That's interesting. Well, that makes me think of the judge with his diddler eyes on the outside. Well, let's see. That seems so off character. Let me go up here and find your first one. So I get everything you're saying. Will you be doing the Preacher Jones' sons and girlfriend's case, where the renter rummed them around Georgetown, Kentucky? Well, I'm going to take a picture of this and I'll look it up. And we'll see. We'll do any cases you guys want. You just let me know. I think Worry got the best of Mickey. I don't think he did this out of evil or hate. I don't think Mickey was that type of person. I don't think Mickey was an evil person. Like, you know, a lot of the things, the crimes that I hear on TV and that we read in the newspaper and stuff, like, my brain would never in a million years even think about committing some of these crimes. Like, it wouldn't even, the thought would never even enter my mind because my brain doesn't work that way. I'm not always looking for somebody to take advantage of, or you know what I mean? And some people really are. Well, I don't think Mickey's that type. I don't. I didn't see him that way. Now, I wasn't real close to him. Don't get me wrong at all. He did not like me, I don't think. But I sure didn't see him as an evil person. That's why this whole thing is just so shocking, because I don't think anybody saw him that way. I'm sure there was lots of people that didn't like him. There's going to be people who don't like us in life. Who, you know, there ain't nothing we can do about that. I'm sure that he's probably arrested people and upset a lot. I'm sure that he's probably said something and offended somebody. So I'm sure that he's, you know, you're going to have that. But for like his character, I think he was a pretty decent dude, or at least that's what I've always heard. Mickey couldn't have known it would be this big, but it is. Yeah, I don't think he did either. You know, I often wonder if he was just kind of stuck as the fly on the wall. But then I've heard other people say, you know, that when Mickey was the one running the ankle monitor program, that he was doing the exact same thing that Ben Fields was doing. But we haven't heard anybody come out and be the victim accusing him of it. But several people have made that claim. But if you don't have proof of it, you know, it's all allegations. There's a monster that stripped a child from their entire family and loved ones, just like this case as well. But in my real life family, I'm sorry, Miss Kate. Bless you, honey. The only photo I've ever seen of Mickey with a dark glare over his eyes is the one of him standing up in uniform, the one they put all over YouTube next to the judges. That's also the only pic I've seen. Well, I've got a ton of them. I've got all these pictures off his Facebook page, so I got them all. I saw his cocky interview. Okay, let's see. It seems so off character for him. The judge, on the other hand, nothing surprises me when his character is in question. Have you ever heard the expression, the devil comes as everything you ever dreamed of? I've not heard that, no. But I have heard a whole lot of things. One of my neighbors up here, he's kind of a wild man. And he was, right after this happened, I was walking my dog and he was telling me a story of how he was out partying one night and he was really and he said he got real scared and got real paranoid, and he was driving and some little old car, and he said, I was driving down the road and I thought the cops was behind me for whatever reason. And he said, as I was coming around, he said, I saw a gravel road that kind of went up the mountain, broke off the road and went up the mountain. He said, and I hit that wide open. He said, I just kept on going. And he said, I drove for probably 6 miles up on that mountain. He said, and it dead ended into a cabin up on the mountain. And he said, when I got out, he said, Kevin Mullins was walking down the steps of that cabin. He said, I had no idea he was up there. He said, I didn't even know where I was at. But that just goes to show you, and we don't know if that's true, okay? I have absolutely no idea if that's true. But it's not the first time that I've heard somebody say they ran into him up on the top of a mountain. Some hid-away cabin in the woods. So, where there's smoke, there's fire. But he could have, he said he sat there and talked to him for like 2 hours and then finally left. And the cops weren't behind him. So, who knows, y'all? Who knows? Look up the Daniel K. Ho case from Bardstown and found in a barn at Nelson Spencer County line just before Ellis was red-rummed. Both still unsolved. I will. Thank you, Jesse James. And most of these are still unsolved. Yep. It's why it's so important for crime scene and investigators to be competent and to be trained appropriately. But I mean, who's in charge of making sure that everybody's trained right? Because from what we see, they don't seem to be a whole lot of training nowhere around here. Or if they are trained, it's something. I don't even have the word. That's one law in Kentucky I think needs to be changed. Sexual consent at the age of 16. The human brain doesn't fully develop till 25, and that's with a normal, healthy childhood. You ever sit and think, yep. I agree. Miss Crystal says you make a good point. Nah, she agrees too. This case, mother and daughter, is the only unsolved one that doesn't seem to me to be connected. It could be, but it's too personal because so brutal. Just what some of us think. Well, it's possible. It's possible. What I was wondering was about, if you offend or insult the wrong person who's a pretty, and they're in a real high, powerful position of authority or whatever, not all people can take that. Like if they've got a real big, thick ego, big old head that can't even fit through the door, then it doesn't take much. And if you've got somebody who's off enough to where they unalive people, well, all it takes is to insult the wrong person, who doesn't think anything about unaliving somebody. Or what if somebody had tried to buy their property and they turned them down, made them mad because they wouldn't sell it to them or something. There's all kinds of reasons that could be motives. I almost hyperventilated saying it. Let's see. Tiffany says, always Walmart. Love your name. In Alabama, we judge your city based on number of Walmarts. That's always a question. How many Walmarts do you have? Wow. Well, we don't have none in Jenkins, but we got one in Whitesburg, and it's not even a super Walmart. It's still a regular Walmart, so it closes at 11. And then I think we've got two or three super Walmarts that are within driving distance, 30, 45 minutes, 3 different directions. That's our Walmart situation. Wonder if they checked into the man that died. Maybe it was about his death. You just never know. Yes, thank you for supporting the channel. Bless you, bless you, bless you. Lots of time. If a person thinks someone knows something on them, they can have them plumb mangled before they ever know what's going on. Yeah, and too, if somebody was out doing something really bad, and say somebody drove by and they saw them driving by, but they didn't know if they saw them or not. Well, they could go unalive them just to make sure there wasn't no witnesses. There's all kinds of reasons that are, not exactly personal. But I hear what you're saying about the mother and the daughter. That did seem like a a personal, the way that they were unalived, but it also says to me anger. They wanted to punish them. Whoever did that to them wanted them to be punished. Or at least that's what I think. But we could be wrong. I do believe Crystal Rogers and Tommy Ballard deaths are related. I do too, and I believe them two cases will be solved. I think if they are related and it's the same people in both cases, I think they'll get the weakest link to flip on the others. So, one of the things that it didn't say in that article, there have been 3 people arrested in Crystal Rogers' case. It's Brooks Houck, the guy that worked for him. So, a lot of times nowadays you have little workers that'll come and do work on your property and you pay them by the hour or whatever. My mom works people all the time. Or, well, Jason. But so he had this worker. And the worker had worked for his family for a long time, I reckon. And that guy's son is the one that looked like he didn't have no teeth, with the black hair. He was arrested. His dad was arrested. And Brooks Houck. So it looks like Brooks got his little worker bee to find somebody who would do it for him. And they've all got caught. So I think that the son is going to be the one who actually did the unaliving. This is just my own personal thoughts on it. I think it's the son who actually did it. And I think he was paid to do it. And I think he will also be the one to turn state's evidence and testify against both his daddy and Brooks Houck. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe he'll just testify on Brooks and not against his dad. Who knows? But we'll see, because that trial's getting ready to take place this year, I think. I believe I read people say somewhere some videos of the car disappeared. It's another small town. Yeah. Like, which I know it's not like it is on TV, but you'd think that with enough ring cameras and enough private security that they would be able to track that car. There's just cameras all over the place now. But if they didn't go and investigate it for 3 years, of course there's not going to be any camera footage. But if the investigators had got on it right away, they might have been able to retrieve some kind of evidence that way. So, hey, my beautiful sweet friend, I love your channel. So glad I found you. Thank you, Miss Cindy. Thank you for being here. 5 miles in 3 minutes, but I could be wrong. I'm sure that's not right for the training nowadays. And I last heard of him, because of Rug Rep, Legal Rug Reeler. I know quite a few of those. Yeah. How do I become a member? There should be on the page when you go to my channel, it'll say join, and you can click on that join, and it'll take you in where you can choose your membership. If you can't find the little join button, I'm pretty sure you can go to the link. I always put the link to the membership in the description of the videos. So you can go there, and I think it's in the description of the channel too. So come be a member. And when people gift memberships, YouTube is the one who gives them out, I guess randomly. But the way that I think it works, like you won't just get an email that has your membership, I think you have to actually hit the join button, like you were getting ready to do a membership on your own. And when you do that, it should, somebody told me that it'll come up and it'll say you've been gifted a membership if you're chosen. So every so often, go to that join button. If you can't join as a member now, every so often go to it and click on it. And if anybody has gifted any memberships, you might get one that way. If anybody knows anything different, please let me know, because I'm a beginner and I don't know a whole lot. I'm learning as I go. I think it's crazy how many are unalived around here, and nothing is ever done to solve the deaths. And if you say anything about it, people get so bent out of shape. But, that's the way it goes. Something on a show where the newbie oversprayed the luminol looking for a stain and sprayed the evidence away by oversaturating it. They couldn't even use it. Oh, I bet you've had a lot of crime scenes contaminated from incompetence. I say that word a whole lot, I feel like. I don't think as a family person you don't want to alienate the law enforcement, but certainly do not ignore them either. As they say, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Check in with them at least 1 to 2 times weekly. Yeah. That way they know you're not giving up. Mickey knows too much. I could speak volumes on Trooper Ellis. He was a very fine young man and a hell of a trooper. He looked like it. I know you can't judge. Looks can be very deceiving. But that picture of him in his uniform, he just looks like a good guy. Fell asleep a couple hours ago and just woke up. Well, hello, Miss Girl Ryan. I don't know what we're talking about, and I'll never sleep tonight. I'll said in the whiniest voice you can imagine. Well, we're glad you're here. Yep. Ms. Crystal says to become a member, go to the homepage. Well, I was late too, ladies, so don't feel bad. It was 20 till 8 before I got on here. I'm assuming most of the inmates where he's at now don't know much about him or have had many encounters with him. But of course, I don't know. Well, they all know him now. He's working with them. And somebody had messaged me too about the way that Leslie County does their work detail. Like they have certain workers, and then those workers can pick out of the other inmates who they want to come help them on their job or whatever it was. And so I don't know if he's been picked or if he's just become, because I remember back years and years ago, you had trustees. So you had people who had kind of proven their good behavior, and if they were eligible according to whatever their charges were, if they were violent or not, felonies, misdemeanors, stuff like that. I don't know what the criteria was, but there was a certain criteria. And they could become trustees. And those trustees were the ones, they wore a different color uniform, jumpsuit than the rest of the inmates, and they were given a little bit more privileges than everybody else. And they did things like pushed the breakfast and the lunch and dinner trays, got them all together and delivered them. And then you had ones that did a lot of cleaning. They'd clean the offices, and they were given a lot more freedom, responsibility, and privileges. And so I'm not really sure how that works today, but many moons ago, I remember that's how it used to work. And everybody wanted to be a trustee because it got you out of the cell. And over at the old Harlan County jail, they had court on TV on Fridays. And so everybody would be in the common area room on Fridays watching the court on the TV. And so if you had anybody who had turned state's evidence on somebody else in their case, plastered all over TV. There wasn't anything that happened in those cases. If it was on the TV, everybody else was going to see it. So so people, if they were an informant or something, or if they had wore a wire in a case on somebody, or whatever, I can remember they would. I can remember the whole room going crazy one time because they thought this person was just the best friend. They'd been in there 3 months together. They had no idea what their charges were. And then their friend went off to court, and everybody was sitting there watching all of this horrible stuff that was coming out in court. And they couldn't even bring her back to the jail because everybody was just so upset. They would have hurt her if they had. Well, I mean, they brought her back, but they couldn't put her back in that cell. They were too scared for her safety. These mountain jails are, well, at least they used to be. They've got newer facilities now. So I'm sure it don't go down like it used to. But you've got more cameras now. You've got more, you've got stricter policies. You've got stricter procedures, and everybody's got a social media. Everybody's got a camera nowadays, right in your hand. And thank you, Holly Luthian. I think if I mispronounced it, I'm sorry. She just sent me a Cash App for $30. Thank you, sweetheart. God bless you. I appreciate it. And while I'm shouting out Cash Apps, let me go over here. I want to shout out Miss Carolyn Short. She sent me a $5 Cash App. Miss Diana, she sent me a $5 Cash App too. See, December 28th, I think is when that was. Terry Crocker, $10 Cash App. Thank you. Miss Wanda Davis, $25. Steve Lewis sent me $50. So thank you. Steve Lewis sent me $25. Bless you. Those were earlier in the month, but I don't think I had said thank you. So I want to shout those out. Steins seemed claustrophobic as it was, but at the same time probably was close to heart attack after what happened. Well, I asked my mom last night what she thought. She said she thought that he knew enough, he was aware enough not to tell him anything that could come back and bite him. He only said things that would maybe be mitigating factors of his mental health. But that was just my take on it. He'll be treated good around here. I think he will too. I don't think that anybody's got to worry about inmates hurting him. I don't think the inmates had hurt him. Where it's such a popular case and Mickey's such a likable person, I think he'd be just fine. I don't think anybody would try and hurt him. They would want to be his friend for their own reasons and purposes. Jail, everybody has to kind of adapt and learn how to survive. And, some people don't get money put on their books. Some people don't get visits. They play a lot of cards in there, and they trade for commissary chips and stuff like that. You have to learn how to pass your time, because that's all you got is time. And so you have to, I know everybody's heard this, but you have to do your time and not let your time do you. And that's really, really hard. Most people, I don't know about most, a lot of people become, institutionalized. So have you ever known somebody that they just were always in jail, in and out of jail, in and out of jail, in and out of jail? As long as they were in rehab, an inpatient rehab, and they had a structure and they had consequences and they had somebody looking over their shoulder, they did fine. My ex-sister-in-law's kid's that way. Does great as long as he's in rehab, as long as he's got somebody looking over his shoulder, as long as he knows he's got a P test he has to go take, as long as he's in that structured environment, and a lot of people are this way, it's not just one, then they are successful. They can be successful. They can be productive. They can be functional. As soon as they leave that environment and they're out on their own and they don't have that probation no more, they don't have that parole, they don't have that officer that they have to see once a week, they don't have that that P test that they have to take, Katie, bar the door. They just don't know how to have self-control. That's a big thing, self-control. I don't even know what got me on that tangent. I'm sorry. You get in a panic state after pew-pewing someone. Yes, I've heard many people say it's just as much of a traumatic event for the suspect or the person who commits the crime as it is for the victims. Now, obviously, it's two completely different perspectives and everything, but I can see how it would be. It would be for me if I had to do it in self-defense or something, and I had to hurt somebody. What would Jesus do? Well, I think it'd be a lot different than what most of us would do. He only got 4 years. My brother is in prison for 20 years for having rugs on him. I'm sorry. I think that they have criminalized rugs in a way that has benefited others. Like, it's benefited the system. It's benefited the criminal justice system. It's benefited people who work in it, right? But it didn't necessarily benefit the communities. Let me pull this up about the prison. Let me see. And we'll look. And I'll show you how the, if I can find, I had it up here and I clicked it off because I thought it was taking too much of my bandwidth. I might have to get it together for another one. But they've got a big prison that they've been talking about for a long time, and they're getting ready to start building it, I think. So, and the community has been divided about it. You know, do we want this prison built here? You're going to bring a bunch, and it's going to be a maximum security prison. So, and then it's not necessarily going to bring tourists. You know, it's going to bring families that will come and visit, maybe. Everybody's looking about tourism. Well, nobody's going to come here for tourism when we got a great big old prison. Well, I'll get it another time. We've been on here 2 hours. I don't know why, but when you said chair and a desk, I got a picture of Mayberry in my head and how laid back they were. Yeah. And heck, you know, I'd even take Barney Fife over the ones we got around here, most of them. I found it quite funny myself that all the ARC peeps used to be on rugs, then started the company, ex-lawyers, and turned into preachers. Sounds fishy, something stinks. Honey, you hit that nail right on the head. And it stinks all the way to the Kentucky Attorney General's office. Everything's about what environment you're in. Yeah. Well, you had your boy and then them dogs and the weather. I can see how you could be distracted. Went to the wrong center at my work before. I was supposed to be all the way across town. Yeah. It happens. They certainly believe that a child has definitely formed all its beliefs of right and wrong. Casey Anthony's attorney, Baez. Jose Baez. That's who it is. Yep. And I even heard that like, did they get married? Did any of y'all hear that too? That Jose Baez married that girl? Or are they just an item? And who was the football player? Nick. Not Menendez. Menendez are those boys in California. Hernandez is the football player. Casey Anthony is one that should have sure had to sit and rot in prison or got the DP, even though I don't believe in the DP. That's a really, really good case to do a live on, to get everybody's opinions on that case. Do y'all want to do that? You want to have a live on the Casey Anthony case? Can't believe all the evil in this world. God, wrap these victims in your healing arms. Amen. In Jesus' name. Jesse James. The courts couldn't because innocent till proven guilty. Makes the father the legal guardian of the child. That's the actual law. Well, poop. After Brooks' arrest, his mother pulled her petition for custody battle of Eli. This was due to her facing legal troubles. To this date, Eli's custody has been kept very private. Thank you for that. It's sad, ain't it? And I imagine most are still on stuff. Folks look at a poor oped as no good when a oped with money is still looked at somebody in a lot of folks' eyes, if that makes sense. Well, I'll just tell you, most of the poor, struggling addicts that I know, most of them would give you the shirt off their back if you asked them. But the greedy rich guy that owns all the big businesses in town, and I'm not pointing to anyone specific, I'm just saying in general, whoever the greedy rich guy is in every town wouldn't give you $1 if you asked them to buy a newspaper. You know what I mean? Most people that I have come across that are poor, they take you in, they let you spend the night, they feed you. You know, a lot of poor people are all about feeding you around here. They just want to feed you. They can't give you nothing else, but they can cook for you. And, you know, it's kind of, I've always seen it as kind of an insult if you don't accept. You know, like if somebody does invite you, well, then you better go. You know, if I don't accept, now maybe not all the time, but it's offensive, I guess. I always kind of looked at that. It was offensive if I didn't go. I don't know. I don't know what got me on that either. Sorry, y'all. Sherry raised all her children but Eli. And, you know, even with all the tragedy that they faced, those babies still were very, very, very blessed to have Miss Sherry as their Meemaw. Not all of us have a Meemaw. Not all of us have ever had a Meemaw. And, you know, that's a really important point that we should all kind of have, or maybe a perspective. Just be nice. Poor Eli, so unfair. Count our blessings. Count your blessings. What's the saying? Have y'all ever heard? It's better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all. I'm very thankful that I got to know who my grandmother was, and she died when I was 17. It's been a long, 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 long time ago, and it was devastating when she died. But I'm just thankful that I got to know her and that I had a grandma and that she told me about Jesus and she prayed over me. And I'm very thankful for the blessings that I've had. I've had a whole lot of ups and downs, and I think we all have that, but we need to learn to be grateful for the things that we do have and not focus on the things that we don't have, because that'll drive us crazy. People can have you fooled. Stein strikes me as a sociopath. Interesting take. No, in my opinion, what little I knew of Mickey, I wouldn't have said he was an evil person, even if he planned it out. It was all for good reason, had to be. Well, I've said this before, too. If he wanted to have done that and gotten away with it, he could have. He could have planned it. He could have done it, got away with it, and nobody would have ever questioned him. Ever. No way in a million years. But looks can be deceiving. Can't help but to feel Sherry may have custody and has him out of the public eye currently. Well, that's possible. I can't imagine how both wives, Judge Mullins and Mickey's, are feeling after hearing all this stuff about all the cheating that was going on. Yeah, but this all ain't just coming out now. All this stuff has been out for a long time. Everybody, I mean, those rumors about the judge's chambers have been out for years and years. There's a lot of stuff people knew. Nothing was done until now. And nothing's still done. They still ain't nothing been done about it. I mean, the only thing that's happened is because of the incident, Mickey's in jail. Because of how he went about what he did, he's in jail. If he would have chose another way to go about that, he wouldn't be in jail right now. That's a big, a great big question mark. How could any of the judges or lawyers' wives not have heard of any of these? You know they did. You know they did. They had to. There's just no way. Unless it's one of them cases of everybody knows but me because nobody told me. That happens. Mickey was looked up to by most in the community. Can't say that for lots of folks. Well, there sure was a lot of people that liked him, and there's right after this happened, there was so much support, outspoken support. Like, we don't care what the cause of this is. Free Mickey, because he wouldn't have done it without a reason. And that says a lot when people are willing to look over something like this because they're so convinced in your character as a good dude. That's why I'm saying jury nullification could be a real possibility. Good night, honey. I'm going to bed too. I get stuck on these comments. Let me go down through here. See if I miss anything. I don't want to miss anything. Oh, Miss Tracy McClellan, $10 super sticker. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you. Bless you, bless you, bless you. Let's see. Vanessa says, have to tell what Judge Exec said in London. This is the case where they went into the wrong house and unalived the guy. He doesn't know. He wasn't there. Evidently, that is his standard line. Always gone somewhere, never was there. Leanne, I had a neighbor that did things wrong to go back to prison. Over here, you get 3 meals a day, free TV, free rent, free power, washing done, courses to do, big library. Well, you know, they had several people over in Harlan back years ago that were homeless. And when it came like wintertime, some of them cops would just take them to jail. There was one woman I'm thinking of specifically. She was an alcoholic and homeless. And every time the cops would see her, they would arrest her, even if she didn't do anything. They would arrest her and take her to the jail so she would be warm. And, you know, I'm sure that's not something that would be condoned. But if you watched the video that I put up on that CBS done in 1964 on Letcher County Christmas, that video was such a great little video. It was 1964, and it really showed how poor people were here. But if you've not watched it, I recommend you go watch it because it's really, really good. It's neat to be able to see. I mean, it's sad. It's very sad. But you see how people lived here back several decades ago. And it's not changed off that much. I had a neighbor that did, oh, that's the same one. Don Knotts was quite the ladies' man in real life. I know Mickey's wife had a mission. She got new coats for school kids every Christmas. Yeah, there's all kinds. They have all kinds of little programs around Christmas time here. They have like the Tree of Hope, and I think any kids who need Christmas presents and stuff, they put their name on the tree, and then people come around and they pick a name off of the tree, and then they go out and buy the present, and then so all these kids get presents at Christmas. But in that video of 1964, it says in there that some of them's favorite part of school, going to school, was lunch, because they didn't have any food. They didn't even have food at home. And it said in that video that the liquor, the bootleg liquor, people whoever was selling the bootleg liquor back then paid for those school lunches. Well, we also have a motorcycle club that's in Neon, and they bought an old school, the old McRoberts grade school, as their clubhouse. So they have this big motorcycle club up in McRoberts, up in one of these little holler towns. And they do a Christmas thing every single year. They're called the Seventh Sons. And they're always donating things, and they're always helping anybody with anything that they need in the town of Neon. Like, whenever they have Neon days, they all come together and they buy bicycles to donate for prizes. You know, they're just really, really involved with helping children and low-income families at times like Christmas and other areas. So this area is not a stranger to, you know, criminal activity, paying, you know, looking the other way on some criminal activity for the greater good. You know what I mean? The more the corruption unfolds, the more it is eye-opening. You know, they made such a big deal over that weed eater. Nobody else would have ever gotten that search warrant for a weed eater if it wouldn't have been the judge executive who was involved in that. No way, no way, no way. That's not even my town, but I can tell you, as much as I'm sitting here, there's just no way that they would have done that. I don't believe it. Nobody could ever convince me otherwise. That was an abuse of power, an abuse of position, in my opinion. That's all right, honey. That's all right. Many years ago, I worked for Mickey's wife under her. She was very high up, even then, above me. She was very sweet, soft-spoken, smart, hard-working, didn't think she was any better than anyone else type. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say anything bad about Caroline. I can't remember ever hearing anything bad about Caroline. They were an item right after her trial. Oh, really? I think Casey Anthony lived and worked with that attorney for a while, but I heard recently she broke up a marriage and moving in with that man. I didn't know that she was an item, that Casey Anthony and Jose Baez were an item. I wondered during the trial, but I never did hear. And then afterwards, I knew that she had moved in with with the attorneys, but I thought it was more. I didn't know it had anything to do with Baez. I thought it was more the older guy, whoever that older guy was on that defense team. I have a lot to say about that woman. Yes, all right. I saw Mickey at the dollar store at May King just a couple days before this happened. He was not in uniform. Well, thank you, June. We were just talking about this the other night. I said I didn't think I had ever seen Mickey not in uniform. Ever. Even when he was bailiff back years ago. Every time I saw him, he was in uniform. Please do a live on Casey Anthony. We will. We will. That'll be a great chat. That'll be a great chat. Yeah. And we've not, you didn't watch her trial. I was not into crime then. Well, maybe we'll watch it. I don't know if we watched the whole thing. It was long. I remember watching it when it happened. My boys were just born. I just had Alan. So Gregory was about a year old, and then I had a newborn. And I was glued to the TV watching that. Casey is supposed to be in Tennessee with her new boyfriend. He left his wife of many years for Casey. It's a shame. Poor person, drug addict, or not will help you before most rich people. Mm-hmm. I heard a while back that the wife in Tennessee was about to take him back because she was getting rid of him. Stupid people. Casey's trial will make you mad. If ever a guilty person went free, it was her. I agree. Yep. Grandparents are just as important as parents. They can have a profound impact on kids' lives. Casey Anthony, in her trial, she blamed her dad. She blamed her dad, who was once a police officer himself. And her dad and her mom, I think, were, Casey and her little girl lived with them. So the grandparents took care of little Kaylee. Probably the majority of the time. But one of the things that I was really puzzled about was that because Casey was telling her mom and dad that she had a job and she would leave every morning and go to work. Well, she said she had a nanny that she took her daughter to. So she had a babysitter. She'd been doing this for a long, long time, and she didn't even have no job. She was lying and faking. And she'd go stay with these boys, and she just wanted to be in the bars. And this is all just my perception, my thoughts on it. She always wanted to go to the bar. She wanted to drink. She wanted to party. She wanted to have fun. But she was a mother with a baby. And she had that baby. She drug that baby all over to these boys' apartments. And I think, this is what I think happened. I think she tried to dose her. I think she was trying to give her something that would make her sleep. And she could have even dosed her and left her in the car while she was in the bar. I don't know. But I think she dosed her too much. And she died. That's what I think happened. But I could be wrong. But that's what I think happened. I had a family member in Harlan County Jail with Brian Dameron from Letcher County. Yeah, Brian Dameron was the deputy under Danny Webb who got caught stealing pew-pews and stuff out of the evidence locker at the sheriff's department, Letcher County. He got 5 years. He had the run of the jail and helped run it. Wonder if Mickey's doing the same. I'd bet. I've had several people reach out to me and tell me that they thought that the jailer at Leslie County and his wife were just wonderful, wonderful people. And several people, not just 1, 2, or 3. I've had several. They speak so highly. I have not had one person, not one, message me and tell me that this jailer is a bad dude or that he runs a bad jail. So apparently Leslie County is a pretty decent jail. And it's pretty decent people running it. But just because you got one decent guy at the very top doesn't necessarily mean everybody else under him is doing what they're supposed to be doing, as we see in Letcher County. He was looking down, not speaking to the cashier. He seemed very preoccupied. I was waiting for him to look up so I could speak to him. He never did, and I didn't feel comfortable engaging with him. Well, okay, y'all. Yeah, I gotta go too. I'll have to go give this dog another breathing treatment. I've had this dog on breathing treatments all day long. When I first started to have to give her the breathing treatment, put it in front of her nose, she hated it. She was scared of it. And I didn't think she was going to let me do it. But I had to hold her and keep that thing right in front of her nose. And because she was, I thought she was going to die. It was awful. And it finally, where I held her in place and put that thing in front of her nose, and it calmed her. It opened all that up in her lungs, and she quit like almost immediately. It's unbelievable what albuterol does for a breathing treatment. And it just almost immediately it took that away, and she quit. And I held it there and held it there and held it there, and I thought, okay, well, that's about enough. And I turned it off and set it down, and it wasn't no time, and she was again. So I had to turn it back on and put it back in front of her face. And now, whenever she starts, like, she wants it. Amazingly smart, I guess, but she's figured it out that when she can't breathe and she's having these spells, that makes it go away. So thank God I'm not having too hard of a time with her. It's just very time consuming. Scared the license teacher. I guess I missed what you were saying. I'm sorry. We have more new banks and gas stations everywhere, but no homeless shelters where I live in Tennessee. We have one homeless shelter that I know of. It's in Pikeville. And they take they have an area for like family. So if they had a mom with kids, but there's one in Pikeville that I know of. And it's it's a nice house. And the physical aspect of it all seems to be pretty decent. It's just hard to get competent employees. I'd say it's that way everywhere. But around here, yep, if Casey's mouth was moving, it was lies, lies, lies. Did you see the body cam footage of her in the bar? Like last year, a couple years ago, she was in there drinking, Still going to the bars. Leopards don't change their spots, y'all. I've never seen one. I believe the only men's homeless shelter is in Louisa, 40 miles away. There's one in Lexington, the Hope Center. They've got one in Lexington. It's a pretty big one, or at least it used to be. I don't know about now. Her dad seems like a good person, too. I think her mom loves her child unconditionally. Please let's look at the coincidences between Amber Spradlin. Yeah, we need to do a live on her, too. I didn't know a whole lot about that case. I hadn't, I was working a whole lot whenever that was going on, and I didn't follow it very much until my channel took off, and then I kind of looked at it a little bit. But we should do that, yeah. In this Letcher County Red Room of the Judge. Boy, oh boy, our eyes are going to open. Well, thank you for that, Miss Angela. We'll absolutely do that. We're doing a show every single day. So this is my new full-time job. Oh, and I've got a good work ethic, honey. I'm going to build it from the bottom. You watch. That trial was so outrageous. Yeah. Poor little girl, so cute and innocent. She said many moons. Right about Casey, she definitely wanted to party and felt hindered by her sweet daughter. And what was her big issue? What was her big problem? She didn't want her mommy to have her daughter. You know, I can remember being a young adult in my 20s and getting upset with my mom, you know, and I remember fighting with her, and I'd be like, he's my son. He's my son. Well, honey, she should have just mashed my mouth is what she should have done. We don't realize sometimes I was a mess. I was an emotional basket case when I was young, a young adult, dealing with so much childhood trauma. It took me a long time for the Lord to heal me. But now as I'm older and I hear women do that, I want to be the midget masher. Because I'm like, do you not even realize it's not about them being your son, your child? That's when you're so selfish and you're only worried about me, mine. It's just ridiculous. What she should have done, if she wanted to go party and carry on, she should have let her mommy keep the baby. But no, I'm not going to give you that satisfaction. I'd rather dose her and leave her in the trunk of my car than let her be safe with her grandma. I think that with a lot of mothers and daughters, sometimes there's a tug of war between the mother and daughter. And I remember being stupid and young myself and having that big tug of war with my mommy. Now, thank God, I got over all that and I learned some really, really hard lessons. I've been humbled many, many times. And I was wrong. That was me. And only me. I was wrong. And a lot of mothers are. Young mothers. If we would listen, if we would just listen sometimes. My mom's never been wrong. Every single thing she's ever told me has been right. No matter how much I fought against her, no matter how much I railed against, She didn't know what she was right every single time. Every single time. So I try and tell my kids that. Maybe they'll listen to me. Like I've learned to listen to my mom. Oh, Zanny the nanny. Thank you, Miss Monica. I never put that together. Never did I put that together. I bet you're right. Zanny the nanny. Yep. That makes so much sense. And she's the type that would do something like that, I think. I can see her doing something like that. She lied to the cops when they were trying to find little Kaylee, and they came and was asking her questions, and she told them she worked at Disney World in Orlando, and she lied to them. She didn't work there, and they wanted her to take them to her office. She rode with them all the way down to the building, walked in the building, the cop said she walked and walked and walked until she walked into a dead end and there was no place else to go. And she finally turned around and said, I lied, or whatever it was she said. Yep, right there. Casey took investigators to Disney World to her job she didn't have. Yep. Unbelievable. I think she was a compulsive liar. Duct tape to keep her quiet. Didn't want kids snoring in the trunk. Man, ain't that awful. It's funny, but it's sad, yeah. But it makes perfect sense. I don't know why that light bulb never went off. Perfect sense. I saw somewhere Judge Mullen's funeral was huge. Lots of people came. Well, it's I've got it on my you can go back in my videos, and I videoed the outside of the funeral. I didn't go in, but I drove up past it. They had it at the school in the gym, and it wasn't as big as what you would have thought. I mean, there was a lot of people came, but I think they probably could have had it at the funeral home. I don't think there was so many people there but I think they did it out of, better safe than sorry, of course. But yeah, I've got one on on my shorts, and then there's a video. So if you want to go back in there, you can see it. Carly Gregg trial was heartbreaking. Yeah, that little girl unalived her mommy, didn't she? Because she found out she had been lying about being in college, and she had gotten kicked out of college, and her parents didn't know about it. And she was down to the finish line, and her mommy found out, and she unalived her mommy. My cousin worked at the same jail when she was in, and my cousin said they had to keep her in a room by herself because they were afraid of her. Wow. Talking about Casey or Carly? Which one are you talking about, Miss Leanne? I'm sorry, I'm behind on her comments here. What's up with the cell phones in the Kentucky case? Well, we don't know yet. We're still kind of in limbo. They just they just released that body cam footage, but I haven't heard that they've released anything else. So we're still waiting. They'll have a whole bunch of court hearings before the trial. They'll have like a, what do they call it? They'll have let's see. The preliminary hearing was downstairs. They went upstairs. They'll probably do like a bond hearing. Because even though that judge said that she wasn't going to post one, or she wasn't going to give him a bond, his lawyers could definitely come back later. And I've seen them do that a lot here. They might initially set the bond at, say, $250,000 for somebody, but then after they've been in jail for 30 days or 60 days or whatever, they'll file another motion with the court for a bond reduction hearing. And then the way that they usually do that, or the way that I've seen it happen a lot, is they'll hear both sides of the arguments on it. They'll even take witnesses for a bond reduction hearing. I've seen them do that before. And the judge usually doesn't give a ruling then. What I see them usually do is say, okay, I'm taking everything under advisement, I'm taking it into consideration. I'll let you know what my ruling is later. And so then maybe a week later, he'll reduce the bond to $100,000. That way, whoever the victims are, whoever's on the defense, or whoever the families are or whatever, they don't have to deal with the backlash. They don't have to deal with the consequences. They don't have to deal with the outraged families. And there isn't a whole group of outraged people sitting in the courthouse that can go outside and put on a big scene. So that's how I think they get away with a lot of that stuff. They just postpone it. They wait and do their rulings, from behind, from the chambers. They accused Casey's dad of all kinds of horrible stuff. I felt so sorry for her father. Yes, yes, yes. She lied and said that her dad had done all this stuff to her when she was little. And then she lied and said that the baby got in the swimming pool and unalived from the swimming pool. They'd found her, and that her daddy took her, and she don't know what he did with her. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Hope the treatment are helping your sweet pups. Yeah. Right before I went on tonight, she was, she had jumped up on the couch and was trying to bark at somebody outside, and she ain't done that in 3 days. She can't bark either. It put her right back into a fuss, but she's feeling better because she'll just lay and won't do nothing. She had parvo last year, and she lived through it, but she about died then too. These little white purebred animals are a lot more, their immune systems are weaker than mutts. I have asthma, so when I get sick, I start my neb treatments 4 times a day. Well, that's what my vet said. She said I wouldn't do it more than 4 a day. But I haven't really had to do it more than that, though. But I space them out. Like, I won't do a whole treatment at one time because I have to give it to all 3 of the dogs. It's been very time-consuming. Oh, my God, some dogs are real smart. My Yorkie is named Einstein. I love that. But he's not smart at all. Bless him. He's cute and sweet, though. Oh, I think Candy's spot on. I bet there's a medical event in his future before he even goes to trial. We'll see. I wonder what we haven't heard in the Kentucky case. Yep. Let's see. interview room has been going over the JonBenet Ramsey police reports for the past 2 nights, if anyone's interested. I found it very informative and unbiased. I get very upset. Like, I don't think I can even watch anything JonBenet Ramsey anymore. Excuse me. I get so angry when I watch that case just because of how bad the investigation, how much the police contaminated the crime scene, the evidence. They wouldn't work with other departments and agencies, and it was all a big, like it was a big peeing contest. Who had the bigger stream, for lack of a better phrase. I don't know. I just think her poor family, you know, they accused them of doing it. They accused her daddy of doing it. I couldn't imagine being accused of hurting my children, and them actually be hurt, you know, gone. I could not imagine being in their shoes. And her mommy ended up passing away many years ago, and I think he's remarried now and stuff. But it's just so sad. Why would Mickey Steins let his daughter intern with the judge and these people if he knew what they were like? Maybe he didn't know about them being bad people. Well, I think his daughter has been there since she probably has been around that courthouse since she was born. You know, her daddy worked there, you know. Usually the kids are very familiar with their parents' workplace. And so, and they're usually very familiar. The kids are then usually familiar with whoever the parents' co-workers are. And I don't know. I can't even speak on it because I don't know. I'd like a chat on the red rum of Savannah Spurlock Richmond, Kentucky young mother. Let me take a picture of that. Angela Cottle. I'd love to come alongside you with info on Amber's Red Rum and the county officials involved. Anytime, Miss Angela. Send me an email. hillbillycrime@gmail.com. Send me an email and we'll chat about it. Not sure if she did an internship. Just heard that yesterday. I've heard that. I've heard that several times. But who would she have the internship with? She's a senior in high school. I mean, they got a high school program that would intern at the courthouse? I don't know. My kids aren't in LCC high school, so I don't know. I know that college internships, one of my classmates interned for Judge Mullins back many years ago, and she was one of them bleach blonde. Her decade was the 80s. She was a rocker from the 80s. Big top. She fit right in. I think it takes a long time for a lot of us to be healed on the inside. Yeah, it did me. Praise the Lord, praise the Lord, praise the Lord. Thank you, Jesus. She was lucky her parents even wanted to help with their grandchild. Mine weren't interested at all. I was on my own. Caring grandparents are a blessing. Yes, ma'am, Miss Calissa. That's right. They are. When I had my oldest son, the day we came home from the hospital, I had never held a baby in my life until I held my own. And I had no idea what I was doing. I had no clue. Whenever we came back home from the hospital, whoever brought us home just dropped me off and left. And we lived in apartments, and I had to go ask my neighbor. I had to go knock on my neighbor's door and ask my neighbor how to make a bottle. I had no idea. And had a baby over screaming its little head off. So my neighbor showed me how to make a bottle. I just kind of learned. Holy cow, I'm going to be scared to death when I drive through your county, when I travel down I-75 to Florida. This is crazy stuff. Oh, you'll be all right. You be all right. It's the people who live here that act bad. Pack is just as bad. Yeah. Mountain Eagle said his and had to do some kind of internship. Well, of course she is. Of course. I also heard the judge was like her godfather. I mean, I would believe that. Like, I would completely believe that. Like, that's how good of friends I thought they were. But, like I said many times, I wasn't in no circle with them. So, but I thought they were like that. My daughter and grandson lived with me until the grandson was 2. I loved it. One thing for sure, she will answer to God one day. She just thinks she got away with it. Oh, yeah. We'll all. Every single one of us will answer. Daughter was probably born when Mickey was Kevin's bailiff or before. She's 17. And I don't know how many years, 10 or more as a bailiff. And he's been sheriff for 7 or 6, maybe. So she was tiny. She was tiny either way. So that's what I'm saying. You know, she's grew up down there. She's had to have. So that would mean that Judge Mullins had watched this baby grow up from a baby and still committed some kind of an inappropriate act. But that's what I'm saying. My brain just don't work that way, y'all. My brain can't even fathom somebody doing that. But that's exactly what happens. It's usually family members or somebody that you know that's really trusted by your family. Just gets me nervous. Brushy is bad, pure ice. Oh yeah, you all stay warm, stay healthy. Casey Anthony will answer for what she's done. Yeah. Let's see. Wonder if Letcher still has house arrest after the Ben Fields case. Oh yeah. They ain't gonna give up that money. Ain't nobody giving up that money. And we're digging. We've got some digging going on, y'all, on some things. We're digging. I got somebody that's digging on for some records for us. And so we're going to have it. We're going to look at whatever we can find. Carly's attorney gave a live interview in one of the groups I'm in. It was so good. Carly? Oh, Carly, the little girl. Okay. Google Marcy's law. They will not give him a bond for fear of him being a danger to the public. Concerns of mental state and not obvious motive. Well, the one judge came out and made a statement before the last hearing. And whoever it was she was giving the interview to, or whoever it was that was reporting what she said that she was disinclined to give anybody no bail. And so I guess she was trying, the only way I can kind of see that is she was trying to warn people that she was a bail giver, that she wasn't, that's how I kind of saw it, perceived it. But then I think she heard so much flack about that she was considering, setting a bond, because she said, I'm disinclined to give anybody no bond, but it will be very high. Paraphrasing, whatever. I don't know her exact quote. But it would be a very high bond. So I was going into this next hearing like, she's going to give him a bond. Might be $5 million, but she's going to give him a bond. I was shocked. Then the hearing came. And she went and did a 180. She gave him no bond. And I think that she heard so much backlash from the statement she had given before the hearing that she changed her mind before the hearing. And she was like, forget this. I'm going to pass it on down to the trial judge. The trial judge can set his bond. I ain't going to. And so that's what I think happened there. Yeah. I totally understand what you're saying about John Bonet. Little girl deserved a better investigation. She sure did. That was solid white pity, and he is a money pit. Yep. She's solid white, but she's got one gray spot right here on the top of her head. Whoever had rescued her, they saw her walking through town with some old man or something. And the story that I got was that they saw him punching her in the face, and that she was just a pup, a little puppy, and dragging her down the road on her leash and stuff. And I reckon they took the man to jail, and they gave her to one of the rescuer people we know. And the next thing I know, here she was coming up my driveway with her, begging me to take her, because they were afraid where she was so pretty and where she was solid white that somebody would breed her. So I took her straight and got her fixed. And I've had her ever since. And she's my bed buddy. I can't sleep without her now. It would be like watching the Delphi case if we could watch it. Yeah. Why the assumption that Kevin was a bad guy? Where is the evidence? Not saying he's a saint, but still show receipts. Yeah, well, I mean, I ain't never said he was a bad guy. There's a whole lot of people that are supporting Mickey regardless. Like I feel like Judge has been demonized from the beginning. Like, I mean, I know there's been a whole lot of rumors and stuff, but kind of what Jet's saying right there. Where's the evidence? You don't have anybody that's come out with any real evidence or any real accusation a direct accusation. I mean, we've heard kind of, sort of, roundabout, but you've not heard anything, fact-based. I said today, I was at the grocery store and the little cashier was trying to talk to me about it. And I said today, I think what would be the most awful, saddest thing of all is if it turned out that this was done for no reason at all. If it come out that the judge hadn't done nothing, he was just kind of a wild guy, but that he was really innocent and was taken down for nothing, for no real good reason, that to me would be the most tragic of all. And nobody else has to feel that way. That's just how I feel. We go to vet all the time. It's so expensive. He has all sorts of medical issues. ER visits are almost as much as for humans. As a matter of fact, an urgent treatment center visit is cheaper than ER for dog. Well, if there would have been one open around here the other night, I would have took her. But I did a whole lot of praying. I laid hands on her. I did a whole lot of praying, and she made it till the next day till I could get her to the vet. Sometimes that's all you can do. Pray. The internship was with the judge through school. Hello, Hillbilly Crime. I finally made a live stream. I'm just across the river from Kentucky. So, hi, neighbor. Hi, Victoria Roman Carter. Welcome, honey. Welcome. Glad you caught us. I think I have to say goodnight to everyone. Yeah, me too. I'm ready. Comments. I think I'm at the end of them there. Yeah. Hopefully. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for always participating in our great chat. We have a wonderful chat. And it's all because of you guys. Thank you. Y'all have a great rest of your evening. Stay warm. Stay blessed. And peace out, Girl Scout. See you tomorrow.